during the coming pole shift caused by the passage of Nibiru and Planet X. The point being that if you've got, imagine two magnets, one's very small and the other is much bigger, and you put them on the table and you gradually move them towards each other. Before they do that, one of them is going to align to the other one, and that's what could happen because, of course, we have a magnetic iron core, and with whether it's Planet X or Nibiru coming closest to us, there is the danger that we may align, and in so doing, we'll get a pole shift. Because I don't know if you know that the core of the Earth is solid, then there's this viscous layer around it, and then the crust of the Earth is very thin. It's anything from 5 to 30 kilometers miles in thickness, but in some areas it's much thicker than that, of course, but that's a sort of typical average range. So what it means is that the core will align fairly quickly, and then because of the viscous matter, there'll be a gradual, the rest of the Earth will sort of follow in a kind of a lag, and on that basis, under those circumstances, it will slow down and stop, and depending on how severe the situation is, you know what happens if you're carrying a bucket of water that's full to the brim, you suddenly stop, it sloshes over the rim. Well, we might get that happening with the oceans, but on the other hand, if it slows slowly enough, then there may not be too much of an issue. There's two references in the Bible which have been verified by scientists relating to the stopping of the rotation of the Earth. One relates to Hezekiah and the prophet Elijah, that went to see him, and he was told to tell him that put your house in order because you're going to die. And anyway, Hezekiah turned his face to the wall, wept and prayed, and before Elijah got through the courtyard, God spoke to him and said, I've changed my mind, go back and tell him I'm going to give him another 15 years. And so he said, well, can you give me a sign that this is going to happen? And so Elijah said, well, what about if the shadow on the sundial of Ahaz goes forward? He said, well, that's nothing. What about if it goes back? And so the shadow on the sundial of Ahaz went back so many degrees, which indicated that the Earth had stopped, done that, and then gone on again. So that's, in fact, there is, going back thousands of years, I had an article about this some time ago, I don't know where it is now, but scientists had been rolling the clock back in the same way that this guy did for that arrival at that 17,000 years. Rolling the clock back, they found that there was an anomaly, and it was a short anomaly, but it fitted that rolling back of the sundial of Ahaz. The other one, of course, rather more well known, is when Joshua and the children of Israel were fighting their way into the land of Israel. I can't remember whether it was the Moabites or the Midianites that they had a battle with, and Joshua stood up and prayed, and the sun and the moon stood still about the space of 24 hours. And so they were able to polish off their enemies without their enemies having the dark to hide in. So that is also in this kind of record which shows there being an anomaly in when you're rolling back the clock. Excuse me a second. Let's see where we are now. Yes, the governments of this world, and of course the Vatican, know what's going on, and it's a bit ironic, really, that they've wrecked the financial systems of this world and taken most of the wealth for themselves, and if they are, and they is a very vague term, but people in the know, they're hoping to survive what's coming, and then leave the rest of us to take our chances. So, however, as Zbigniew Brzezinski, who used to be the defense advisor to a previous president, said recently that the public are waking up all over the world, and from their point of view it's not a good thing, but from our point of view it's a very good thing. And a lot of leaks coming out. There are a couple of shots here which we go on to the next one. These are two separate shots which were taken at different times, and there's a guy called Marshall Masters who runs a website called YOWUSA.com. It's Your Own World Books USA. I've got some of his books on the table there, and I'd recommend that. That seems to me to be the soundest of the various sites that are covering Planet X. And they had to decide whether videos that they'd been emailed were false flag disinformation or the real thing. Because of course there is a lot of disinformation out there. There's a I can't remember the name of the site. Do you know? Snopes? Sorry? Snopes? No, there's some woman on there who is supposed to be a channeling medium, all this sort of thing. So that's the sort of thing I tend not to give much credence to. Anyway, when they compared the two shots that came through at some months apart, bearing in mind that this mini system is moving, it's coming our way, they found it was sufficiently close, sufficiently similar, sufficiently close to say yes, this is those photographs are genuine. So that's basically the system, that you've got Planet X in the middle, and then you've got a series of planets around it, plus a lot of debris. This comes from another source. This is a guy who got this stuff off the Microsoft Worldwide Telescope. The thing is that if you go on the particular coordinates, which come up in a moment, you find that and normally if you go to that on Google Sky, there's a patch over it. You can't see it. And in fact, if you zoom right in, you can see that the patch is just a square thing, and it cuts right through the edges of stars. So it's not very subtle. These are a bit indeterminate, but you see this red, characteristic dull red body, which obviously is warming up quite a bit, because it's readily visible. So let's if you could come back one. That's it. Yes. What I propose to do now is, as a little sort of like relief, as it were, I've got a short clip of a video which is. Put it.
Which of the privileged planet is it?
Yes, that's right.
There.
That's the one.
Yeah, it's the one standing up.
Oh yes, that's the one. That's what I can see. I actually got this from an American website, but I'm sure if you want to take a look, there's a website on the back. It's a very refreshing view of the universe. So if we can just play the